Do you know the difference between necessary stress and unnecessary stress? Let's talk about it. Hi, I'm Dr. Lisa Ann Homick from Homick Advanced Chiropractic, and this is Brain Snob, episode number 87. I'm kind of piggybacking on yesterday's video because I said something that I didn't really address in that episode, and that episode was about stress, and I said there was a lot of untruths about this infection severity that's been going around, that's been changing our whole way of life, and I wanted to delve into that a little bit more. Yesterday I talked about the purpose of stress and how to help yourself manage through stress, and I encourage you to use the BFA protocol in order to do that, because it is a systematic way to organize yourself so you can take care of your brain, because your brain makes your body so you can make your life, and we need your full participation in the world, and you can't do that with an impaired brain. But I wanted to focus on what I think is very misleading and telling the public that this is very contagious and it's going around and around and around, and there's going to be a second wave, and if you're not careful, you could give it to somebody else, or if you're not careful and go out of the house at the wrong time, you could pick up this virus and your body isn't going to be able to handle it. And my question is, when is your body going to be able to handle it? Nobody talks about that in the news. The press conferences are dancing around this topic because, one, people don't even want to get specific about it, and two, they don't want to work on the real problems. So if you listen to enough of the scientific information about the corona virus, we know it's minuscule. The problem is the pre-existing conditions that are causing the harm. To me, that's borderline criminal, how we have downplayed all these years, maybe all these decades, we've downplayed chronic illness. We've taught everybody to tolerate it. We've downplayed it to the point where now this change has come into our environment and people are seriously sick in the hospital when they never should have gone to the this never should have gotten to this point. That's what I'm trying to say. That is sad. We brought it on ourselves because of the way we handle chronic illness. We've downplayed the seriousness of everything because we just tell people to get on metformin, do this, do that, exercise if you can, if you still have the energy, because the high blood pressure medications have zapped you of your energy. So do what you can, but keep taking the medications. We've downplayed chronic illness, and we've overplayed this virus. When I think back to all the downplaying, think of Jason Fung. Read his books, listen to his videos. He talks about how he finally got fed up with the fact that they would just, he called it hand-holding. He would hold people's hands until they finally had to get a foot taken off because of the progression of their diabetes, the progression of their kidney disease, and he had enough of that. And I've had enough of what we've been listening in the news about this whole panic-demic scenario. I don't want it to continue. I want us to be concentrating on what really brings health, not the palliative care. I'm sorry, I gotta slow down. The palliative care at the emergency rooms. It's too late. I'm glad people are surviving. I'm glad there's a lot of healing. I'm glad we've got the holistic healers who are using vitamin C and vitamin D and the ozone therapy and the nebulizing therapy. I'm glad we've got that. Unfortunately, that's not in the hospitals. I could go on all day talking about this, but I want to get back to my focus here. The pre-existing conditions, that's criminal. Making people never change. They stay with these pre-existing conditions. They made people not bounce back from this illness. Most people do But on the news, we hear the worst of the worst, because all we're talking about are hospitals, hospitals, hospitals. And that's just unbelievably, I'm speechless. It's unbelievably terrible how we've gotten to this point. What are the issues that we are not paying attention to? We know obesity is a problem with these folks. We know diabetes is a problem with these folks. What are the underlying conditions causing these pre-existing conditions? There's a whole lot of them. With obesity, we've got the processed foods. The whole processed food market has taken the tobacco lessons. They took the tobacco marketing schemes and copied them. You know about tobacco. We don't allow advertising anymore. A lot of stores don't even sell cigarettes anymore. You can't be underage and buying cigarettes. We know the tobacco industry hid a lot of truth about their product. Even medical doctors decades and decades ago said, smoke, it'll relax you. It's all good for you, and doctors recommend it. The processed food industry is copying their tactics, and now we have obesity. And people do not feel like they can't even control their appetites, and they can't control their cravings. That is the problem we've been ignoring. Diabetes, we ignore. As long as you have insulin, you can manipulate your insulin every day and keep your blood sugar at a certain level, but we also know that even after 5 years of this kind of treatment, your health outcomes are not better. And you can get those studies from Sherry Rogers' books. She's got a book called Curing Diabetes, The Cure to Diabetes, and it's in there. Years and years and years of studies showing people don't change. Their health isn't improving. That is the pre-existing condition that's led us to where we are today. We have glyphosate in all our food and our water. That comes from Roundup. That comes from the spraying on everything so that it's easy to get into the tractors. They can pull up your food easily. It saves on labor. It's in our food. It's in our water supply. It's killing everybody's guts. And when your guts are leaky, you're going to get all these autoimmune conditions. And we've got to nip that in the bud. That has caused us to be where we are today with all these pre-existing conditions that are making people worse when they come down with a small bacterial infection, a small viral infection. The EMF exposures are increasing, increasing, increasing. If you don't know what radiation sickness is, look it up, because it's going to mimic all these other conditions. We've got to understand EMF exposure. There are some people who are extremely sensitive right now, and they're sounding the warning bells. They're teaching people. You've got to understand that, and you've got to help yourself decrease unnecessary EMF exposure, because that is another confounding effect. It's going to be another layered effect that creates this pre-existing conditions that's getting us where we are in this troubled spot. Let's talk about the co-infections with Lyme pathogens, all the pathogens that cause Lyme disease and the other pathogens that coexist with them, like the Epstein-Barr. We need to get a handle on that. We live with all these pathogens. They're around us all the time, but here's the problem. When our immune system reaches that point of that breaking point where the water is rising and the dam breaks, now we've got to figure out how to treat properly. We need gentle and natural, effective treatments. We can't rely on the medical treatments that aren't working right now. Let me continue on. How about the mold infections that we have such difficult trying to get a whole handle on, because eradicating mold in your homes and in your offices, it's a very difficult thing to do, and if you don't realize you're exposed to mold, you're going to be wondering why you have all kinds of weird, strange symptoms that never change. And then the parasites. That's another thing we have to figure out how to handle. How do we deal with parasites? Because the immune system used to keep this all at bay, but now the immune system is crying for help and saying, we can't take this anymore. We need help. And you're not helping us, because now we're in this state of this pandemic right now, and we've lost all touch with what works. We've just lost it. We've lost our minds. we've lost our minds. And here I am doing a video about pre-existing conditions that we've just set aside and said, oh well, no big deal, it's all right, you're getting older, it's called aging. No, it's not called aging. It's called your lifestyle has overwhelmed your immune system, and your immune system finally said, enough, I can't help you anymore. And we can't do that. I want you to look at the stress in your life, and I want you to assess it and make the changes that you need. So let's talk about what my stress mnemonic stands for. Let's start with S. And if you watched yesterday's video, you know S stands for short term. Right now we're not in short-term stress. We're in long-term stress, sadly, because everything is closed down. The businesses are closed. We have financial upheaval. People are on unemployment. Some people can't even reach the unemployment offices. We have family issues. With the financial problems, people are eating cheaper foods. It's just making the situation worse. I know we're in a long-term stress right now. We can't let it win. We can't let it get to us. We've got to build up our bodies. We have to build up our minds, our mental attitude, so we can get through this. Remember, T is threat. Some of us are feeling like we really have serious threats. And it's the threat to our livelihood, our financial status, our personal freedom. These are threats now that people want to get a handle on, get their freedoms back, go back to a normal day-to-day lifestyle that's healthier. And you can't live under this kind of uncertainty. I know that. We have to help each other figure out how to give each other the support we need in order to deal with this. We know it's going to end. It's going to end, and we've got to be upbeat. And honestly, we got to help each other out. That's how it's going to happen. The R in stress, remember, that's your reserves. And I don't want you to run your reserves dry. I mean, we can talk about your financial reserves and your savings account. Same thing as in your body, your own cellular reserves, the energy of your reserves, the tissue integrity, because if you're unhealthy, if you're not eating the right foods, you're going to have tissue wasting, and that's when your tissues can't bounce back from diseases. You can't bounce back from bacterial infections. We have to take care of the reserves, and the BFA protocol helps with that. Number one is chiropractic adjustments, because that gives you that calming effect on your nervous system. You can't stay in fight or flight long time. It's disastrous to your health. We need to calm that down. Chiropractic does that. Go back to the other videos where I talk about your brain waves calming down so that they're at the appropriate level for healing and cognition and metabolism. Chiropractic care will do that. Also, the other parts of the BFA protocol, the nutritional side and the stress management side, protect those reserves, because that's necessary. You've got to do it, because that's where the healing is. It's at your fingertips. You've got to do it. You're not going to get it from a few hours in the emergency room. They're just going to get you out of that close to death feeling. Once you get out, once you leave the hospital, the rest is up to you, and I'm teaching people how to do that. You've got to have that building attitude, rebuilding your health. You've got to make the BFA protocol your full-time job. And that's not a bad thing. It's rewarding and it's meaningful. And I love teaching people how to rebuild their health with the BFA protocol. Let's get back to my sign. So E, stress. The E stands for energy. When you're under stress, you have energy bursts to get you through it, but you get to a point where there's exhaustion. We don't want you to get to that point of exhaustion. Use the BFA protocol to protect your energy reserves. In fact, your body cannot use some energy here and some energy here. It concentrates all your energy on either routine, healing, or defense and self-protection. You can't be doing both. Remember Bruce Lipton, you can't be in a state of growth and defense at the same time. So if all your energy is on defense, there's no energy for healing. There's no energy for you to rehabilitate. There's no energy to be rejuvenated. Your energy has to be protected, and I teach you how to do that with the BFA protocol. We don't want you to be drained. of your energy. Respect your energy, because it can only do one thing at one time. Let's get it back to routine, let's get it back to healing, and let's get it back to rebuilding. Let's get out of defense and self-protection. And then S, what did I say? I say it out loud. What does S stand for down here? Sleep. And what does this S stand for? More sleep. I cannot overemphasize the importance of sleep because of stress. The sleeping is something you can do. It doesn't cost you anything, but you've got to get yourself into a sleep routine that will help you. Understand stress. There is necessary stress and unnecessary stress. And the necessary is what keeps you hyperactive through that point of when your life is really threatened. But the unnecessary stress is what got us here. We've got to get the drama out of our lives. We've got to keep our jobs balanced. We have to keep our play and our work and our families balanced. That is how we are going to have our vibrancy back. We need to be on the vibrant track, and we need to have a pretty intensive prevention mindset, because what people call prevention hasn't worked. And I'm sorry to say that. It's time for us now to get into an extraordinary form of prevention. And that's why I say BFA needs to be a full-time job. You can still fit it in with everything else. That's why it's so important. It helps you manage your life, and it is rewarding, and it is meaningful. And we need your full participation in the world. And we need you to understand that when you take care of your brain, you can do amazing things. And we want you doing amazing things. And if all of us are doing amazing things, then we will have a safe, secure world. And we don't have to worry about some strange thing coming into our lives and throwing everything down the tubes. I want you to stay upbeat, and I want you to learn more about the BFA protocol. I'm here to share it with you. So call the office, read my blog postings, check out the other videos. Thank you for joining in today. I went a little bit longer than usual, but I felt like I was on a roll. But I want you to click like, share the videos, and give your friends uplifting messages. Tell them that you have the greatest healing power within you, your innate intelligence. We can't leave it on autopilot, of course. We've got to give it TLC, tender loving care, and that's what the BFA protocol is. And it helps you do that in a manageable way, so it's a great part of your life. Thanks for watching.